The story begins in a military prison shaped like a castle, overseen by Colonel Winter. While in his office, Winter is visited by his subordinates, who inform him that a lieutenant general, now a prisoner, will be transferred to his facility. For Winter, this is a matter of great pride, as he will personally receive one of the most respected figures in the United States Army. News of the general's arrival spreads quickly among the inmates. Nearly all of them are excited, including a former soldier named Yates, who now works as a bookie among the prisoners. Soon after, the long-anticipated Lieutenant General Eugene Irwin arrives. Irwin has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for disobeying presidential orders by sending American troops on a mission in Burundi, resulting in the death of 8 soldiers. Colonel Winter, the prison's warden, deeply admires Irwin and plans to ask him to sign one of the military history books in his personal collection. However, as Winter searches for the book, Irwin begins a brief conversation with one of the prison guards. During their chat, Irwin openly criticizes Winter's collection of military artifacts, stating that they are things no real war veteran would ever own, as they only serve to remind people of the pain of war. Unknowingly, Winter overhears the comment and feels deeply offended, especially since he has never experienced battle firsthand. As a result, he decides not to ask Irwin to sign the book. As Irwin leaves Winter's office, he is greeted by a prisoner named Aguilar, who salutes him respectfully. However, Winter forbids Aguilar from saluting Irwin, arguing that he is now a prisoner and no longer a general. The following day, during outdoor activities, a dispute among some inmates escalates into a riot. Irwin watches from the sidelines as alarms blare and guards attempt to regain control by firing rubber bullets at the prisoners who started the chaos. Meanwhile, Colonel Winter merely observes from his office. During lunch, several inmates approach Irwin to complain about Winter's abuse of power and the guards' brutality, even mentioning the deaths of some prisoners caused by rubber bullets. The inmates hope Irwin will use his government contacts to take action against Winter and his staff. However, Irwin makes it clear that he intends to serve his sentence without getting involved with anyone. Later on, Aguilar visits Irwin again and greets him with great admiration, unable to hide the respect he feels for one of America's most legendary war veterans. The two share a casual conversation about military history and the meaning of a respectful salute, unaware that Winter is watching from a distance. Aguilar's admiration for Irwin unsettles Winter, who fears that inmates might start respecting Irwin, despite being a prisoner, more than they respect him, the prison's commanding officer. To prevent this from spreading, Winter orders Aguilar to stand at attention in the yard for 24 hours, saluting in front of the warden's office. Even as heavy rain pours down and Aguilar is visibly shivering from the cold, Winter refuses to cancel the punishment. Seeing Aguilar's condition, Irwin approaches him and urges him to seek shelter from the rain. This act leads to Irwin being reprimanded and beaten by the guards under Winter's orders. Irwin confronts Winter and reminds him that even prisoners have rights. Winter, however, responds by citing the prison rules, including the one forbidding interference with guard duties. Since overhearing Irwin's disparaging comment about his military artifacts, Winter's admiration for the general has faded. As retaliation, he orders Irwin to perform a physically grueling punishment, lifting large stones. This punishment soon becomes a spectacle for the inmates, with Yates organizing bets on whether Irwin will complete the task or give up. Despite his age and visible exhaustion, Irwin works relentlessly without complaint, revealing numerous battle scars across his body, marks of his experience in combat. Among these, one scar stands out, a wound he received while desperately defending his men, an act that helped make him one of the most respected figures in U.S. military history. Even though the punishment lasts an entire day and ends with Irwin being sent to solitary confinement, he completes the task. His determination and resilience earn him the respect of all the inmates, who see in him the true spirit of a warrior. Yates visited Irwin in his cell and offered him a large number of cigarettes as a gift. However, since Irwin didn't smoke, he instructed Aguilar to distribute the cigarettes among the other inmates. During this interaction, it's revealed that Irwin once knew Yates' father, who had served under the general's command. Irwin tells Yates how his father managed to inspire the will to fight in him and his men when they were surrounded by enemies with little chance of survival. He explains that he saw his soldiers as family, people he was willing to risk everything to protect. These words deeply affect Yates, a former officer and helicopter pilot, who is visibly moved to hear such things about his father's past. The next day, Irwin approaches the inmates who are building a wall, an assignment given by Winter to keep them occupied. Wisely, Irwin suggests they look at the task from a different perspective, comparing it to the construction of a medieval castle wall. Inspired by this idea, Irwin asks Aguilar to teach the inmates how to build a solid stone and mortar wall, since Aguilar's father had been a skilled mason. Under Irwin's leadership, which motivates and organizes the inmates, they begin constructing the castle wall. Impressed by his leadership, the prisoners stop calling him general and begin referring to him as boss. However, Winter sees this as a threat, believing Irwin is building a structure of loyalty that could challenge his authority. Jealous of the respect Irwin has gained, Winter orders the guards to destroy the wall. Aguilar tries to block a bulldozer from demolishing it, but Winter instructs a sniper to fire a rubber bullet at his head. Although such bullets are rarely lethal, the shot instantly kills Aguilar. After the wall is destroyed, Irwin and the prisoners hold a solemn ceremony to honor Aguilar, similar to a military funeral for fallen soldiers. Not long after, Winter, worried about his own position, visits Irwin's cell to offer him a deal in exchange for staying silent about Aguilar's death. Irwin refuses the offer and, together with the other inmates, begins demanding Winter's resignation for abuse of power and unnecessary use of force. From that moment on, the inmates, under Irwin's direction, begin to behave like soldiers, using coded language and gestures to communicate. During a visit from Brigadier General Wheeler, Winter's superior, Winter tries to discredit Irwin by portraying him as someone who sees the prison as a battlefield and wants to usurp his position. However, Wheeler, who respects Irwin, decides to speak with him and listen to his concerns about Winter's abuses. He advises Irwin to gather concrete evidence of Winter's misconduct so that action can be taken. Irwin and his allies begin planning Winter's removal. Although Yates initially seems eager to join the cause, he ultimately betrays them, accepting Winter's bribe, a reduced sentence in exchange for spying on Irwin. However, Irwin confronts Yates in private, telling him he sees the spirit of a true warrior in him, unlike Winter, who only uses Yates for personal gain. Although Yates initially dismisses Irwin's words, they begin to sink in. When Irwin announces the plan to the inmates, Yates reports it to Winter, who quickly hides the American flag in his office. Nevertheless, Yates changes his mind. Taking advantage of a distraction, he steals the flag and hides it. The next day, Yates tells Winter that Irwin has the flag and is placed in solitary confinement, part of Irwin's plan to divert attention from the guards and give the prisoners more freedom to act. Following Irwin's orders, the inmates begin a riot to take control of the prison. The plan includes flying the American flag upside down, a distress signal indicating that Winter has lost control. During the chaos, one prisoner manages to contact General Wheeler to inform him of what's happening. Meanwhile, the inmates, using improvised weapons and coordinated teamwork, repel the guards' attacks and destroy Winter's office. Desperate, Winter orders helicopters to fire on the prisoners. However, Yates, who has escaped from solitary confinement, manages to seize one of the helicopters and kills the sniper responsible for Aguilar's death. As Winter's orders are being neutralized, he commands the guards to surround the inmates with live ammunition. To prevent further bloodshed, Irwin orders the prisoners to lie down on the ground, and they obey. When Winter demands that Irwin return the flag, Irwin refuses. Defying orders, he walks toward the flagpole to raise it. Enraged and desperate, Winter shoots Irwin in the back while he hoists the flag. Despite the fatal wound, Irwin manages to raise the American flag properly before dying. Winter is then arrested by his subordinate, Captain Peretz, and is taken away in handcuffs just as General Wheeler arrives. In honor of Irwin and Aguilar, the prisoners rebuild the castle wall, carving their names into it as a lasting tribute to their sacrifice. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell so you never miss a recap. See you in the next one.